Plan. There's a moment just before the sun rises when everything is still. The world holds its breath. Plan. It hasn't decided yet whether it will be kind or cruel. And in that quiet pause, you open your eyes. Now, plan. You could wake up and go through the motions. You could scroll, snooze, survive. Or you could wake up with purpose. Plan. Purpose is not found in some grand plan written in the stars. It's found in small decisions. Plan. The decision to rise when your heart is heavy, to show up when you feel unseen. Plan. To believe in your worth when everything around you whispers otherwise. That is purpose. Not perfection, but presence. Plan. Waking up with purpose is an act of courage because it means facing a world that may not understand your heart. Plan. It means carrying your pain, your fears, your history, and choosing to move anyway. You don't wait for motivation. Plan. You don't wait for approval. You wake up for something bigger than comfort, for growth, for healing, for truth. Plan. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And purpose is the thread stitching your story together. Quietly, plan, faithfully, even in the dark. So tomorrow, when the world is still asleep, I hope you rise. Not because you have to, plan, but because you can. Because you matter. Because even your smallest effort carries light. Because someone somewhere, plan, needs the kind of strength only you can offer. Wake up with purpose and let that purpose carry you through every storm. Quietly, plan, powerfully, honestly. We often think purpose has to look like a grand revelation, a moment of lightning. Plan, a calling so loud it shakes the ground beneath us. But most of the time, purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. Plan. It begins in the smallest, quietest choices. The decision to get out of bed when everything in you wants to hide. Plan. The choice to be kind when the world has been unkind to you. The commitment to try again after yesterday nearly broke you. Plan. That's where purpose is born. Not in applause, but in persistence. It's in those quiet, plan, ordinary mornings where you drag your feet to the mirror and whisper, plan. Just one more day, that something extraordinary begins to take shape. Plan. You may not see it yet. The way your effort is building strength. Plan. The way your consistency is planting seeds. But it's there. Purpose is not always fireworks. Plan. Sometimes it's a flicker, a soft spark that refuses to die, no matter how cold the world feels. Plan. And choosing to honor that spark every day. That is purpose in its rawest form. Plan. You don't need a perfect plan to live with purpose. You don't need to wait for clarity or confidence. Plan. All you need is the willingness to begin, to keep showing up one moment, one breath, one decision at a time. Plan. We overlook the power of small things, choosing to speak with kindness, offering help even when you feel empty. Plan. Standing up when no one's watching. These are the quiet choices that build a life of meaning. Plan. And they matter more than the world will ever tell you. You see, purpose doesn't demand a stage. Plan. It just needs a heart willing to try. Even if you stumble, even if you doubt yourself. Plan. Even if you feel like you're barely holding on. Waking up and choosing to live your life with intention. Plan. Even in the midst of chaos, is one of the bravest things you'll ever do. So don't wait for the big moment. Plan. Just take the next small step, because sometimes the smallest decision can lead to the greatest transformation. Plan. We live in a world that worships the polished, perfect pictures, flawless smiles, and curated lives. Plan. But life is not a photo shoot. Healing is not glamorous. And strength is not always loud. Plan. Your value was never supposed to be measured by how perfect you look or how seamless your story sounds. Sometimes, plan, just being present in your truth, in your mess, in your becoming, is the bravest, most powerful thing you can do. Plan. You don't have to impress the world. You just have to show up as you are. There will be mornings when your hair is unbrushed. Plan. Your heart is heavy and your spirit feels worn out. Show up anyway. There will be days when your smile is shaky. Plan, your voice trembles and your steps feel unsure. That's okay. Your presence, raw, real, plan, unfiltered, carries more light than a perfect mask ever could. The people who truly need you won't need you to be flawless, plan. They'll need you to be real, to be human, to remind them that broken things can still breathe beauty. Perfection creates distance, plan, but presence builds connection. When you dare to be vulnerable, to let others see your cracks, your doubts, plan, your fears, you offer them something sacred, a place to belong. You say without words, plan. You don't have to have it all together to matter. And in that quiet offering, plan, you become a safe space, not just for others, but for yourself. You learn to stop performing and start living, plan, to stop hiding and start healing, to stop pretending and finally be seen. Because truthfully, no one connects with perfection, plan. People connect with your story, with your effort, plan. With the quiet courage it takes to show up, even when you feel like you're falling apart, plan. You don't have to be fixed to be valuable. You don't have to be loud to be heard, plan. And you don't have to be perfect to be enough, your presence. Here, now, even in your uncertainty, is the gift, plan. The one that matters more than you'll ever know. We often think pain disqualifies us from living with purpose, as if we must be healed, plan, whole and unscarred before we can matter. But the truth is, purpose doesn't wait for healing, it walks beside it. Plan side by side with every tear you hide, every ache you carry in silence, every wound you try to patch with a trembling hand, plan. Your pain does not make you unworthy of purpose. It makes you deeply human, and that is where purpose finds its voice, plan. Sometimes the most meaningful paths are walked not in strength, but in struggle. You can cry and still lead, plan. You can hurt and still help. You can carry pain in your chest and still speak life into others, plan. Purpose is not the absence of pain. It is the choice to keep moving through it, not despite it, but with it, plan. Because there's something about pain that wakes us up, strips away the superficial, and leaves only what's real, plan. And what's real, what's raw, is where your power lies. You don't need to hide your scars to be purposeful, plan. You don't need to silence your sorrow. You just need to let it soften you, not shatter you. Let it open your heart, plan, not close your soul. When you live with purpose through pain, you become a quiet lighthouse for someone else drowning in the dark, plan. You show them it's possible, not to avoid pain, but to live fully in its presence, plan. To create light while still feeling the weight of the night. The world needs more people who have suffered and still love, plan. Who have lost and still give. Who have broken and still believe, plan. Because those people live with a depth that no textbook can teach and no filter can fake, plan. If you're walking through pain right now and you feel too fragile to carry purpose, know this: your purpose isn't gone. Plan, it's just walking with you, quietly, slowly, gently. And together, plan, you're going somewhere powerful. It's easy to take the morning for granted. The sound of your breath, plan. The way the light slips through the window. The weight of your feet against the floor. We treat waking up as routine, plan. Forgetting that there are people who prayed for the chance to see another sunrise and didn't get it, plan. Each morning you wake up is not just another day, it's a sacred invitation, an unearned gift, plan. A quiet reminder that something in this universe still believes your story isn't over yet. When you open your eyes, plan, you are being given time. Time to love, to learn, to rebuild, to begin again. It doesn't matter how heavy yesterday was, plan. It doesn't matter how uncertain tomorrow feels. Right now, in this breath, you've been handed the chance to live on purpose, plan. And know that That doesn't mean you have to change the world before breakfast. It means you get to take one step, just one plan. And sometimes that's more than enough. Because every step holds power when it's taken with intention, plan. You may not wake up feeling ready. You may rise with a tired heart or a mind full of doubt, plan. But the very act of waking is a sign that your journey continues. Even when you don't feel strong, even when you feel broken, plan. Life has still said yes to you. You are still needed. You still have something to give, even if it's just your presence, plan. Your truth, your effort to try again. There's someone out there whose life will be better because you chose to show up today, plan. So instead of asking, why me? Ask, what now? What will you do with this day, this breath, this second chance, plan? You don't need to have the answers, just the willingness to ask the question, plan. Because when you understand that waking up is not a guarantee but a grace, plan, you begin to treat your life, even the ordinary moments, as sacred. Not because they're perfect, plan, but because they're possible. And possibility, even wrapped in uncertainty, is still something to be honored, plan. Motivation is a beautiful feeling, but it's also fleeting. It comes like a wave, plan, crashing in with energy and passion, and then, just as quickly, it disappears, plan. And if you wait for motivation to carry you every day, you'll often find yourself standing still, plan, stuck in moments where inspiration doesn't arrive. The truth is, life rarely hands us the perfect mindset to begin, plan. And that's why discipline becomes so important. Because discipline is not a mood, it's a decision, plan. Discipline shows up even when motivation doesn't. It doesn't care if the sky is gray or if your heart feels heavy, plan. It quietly reminds you of who you said you want to become. And it nudges you, sometimes gently, plan, sometimes firmly, to keep going. Discipline says, do it anyway. When you don't feel ready, plan. When your bed is warm and your dreams feel distant. When your past screams louder than your hope, plan. Discipline helps you rise in the silence. You see, discipline isn't about being cold or robotic, plan. It's an act of love. Love for the person you're becoming. It's what bridges the gap between intention and transformation, plan. You can want healing, success, clarity, peace. But unless you're willing to walk toward it without waiting to feel like it, plan, it will remain a wish. Discipline builds trust within yourself. Every time you choose to act without permission from your emotions, plan, you tell yourself, I can count on me. So wake up and don't ask, do I feel like it today? Ask, plan. Is this the life I'm willing to fight for? Show up, not because motivation is cheering you on, plan, but because discipline is quietly standing by your side. Show up, not for perfection, but for progress. Not for applause, plan, but for integrity. You don't need fire in your chest to take a step, plan. You just need a quiet yes in your spirit and the courage to keep walking even when it's uphill, plan. You don't have to be the loudest in the room to make an impact. You don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes, plan, the most powerful message isn't spoken. It's lived, the way you carry yourself when no one's watching, plan. The way you treat others when there's nothing to gain. The way you rise after falling, plan. How you choose hope over bitterness. These quiet choices echo louder than any speech ever could. Your life is the message, plan, and someone is always listening. There are people who will never hear your story in words, plan, but they will feel your presence in silence. They'll see the way you choose kindness after cruelty, plan. The way you walk in humility when you could boast. The way you stay honest when it would be easier to pretend, plan. Your actions become your legacy. Not the grand declarations, but the daily decisions. Not what you say in front of the world, plan. But what you do when only your soul is watching. You don't need a platform to inspire. You don't need followers to lead. Plan. The way you love, forgive, endure. That's the real testimony. Someone is watching how you handle pain, how you carry joy. Plan. How you respond to life when it doesn't go as planned. Plan. And maybe they'll never tell you, but your quiet courage might be the reason they don't give up. Plan. Not because you preached at them, but because you embodied the very thing they thought was impossible. Plan. When your values are rooted deep within you, they show up without needing a microphone. They live in your patience. Plan. Your consistency, your integrity. So don't underestimate the story your life is telling, even in the silence. Every step you take. Plan. Every gentle choice, every time you choose light over fear. You're writing a sentence in someone else's book of hope. Plan. And that may be more powerful than anything you'll ever say out loud. There are days when you'll walk through the world feeling invisible, like your voice doesn't carry. Plan. Your presence doesn't change anything, and your pain is too small to matter. But let me tell you gently, Plan. Just because the world is loud doesn't mean your silence is empty. You matter even when no one says it. You matter. Plan. Even when the room doesn't notice you walked in. You matter simply because you exist. Plan. And that alone is enough reason for you to keep going. You may never fully see the lives you've touched. Plan. The friend who needed your hug. The stranger who saw your smile. Plan. The person who watched you keep going after loss and found hope in your resilience. Plan. You don't have to make headlines to make a difference. Sometimes, plan. Your quiet strength becomes the lifeline for someone else's survival. Plan. Your presence, even when it feels ordinary, carries extraordinary weight in ways you may never witness. We often search for validation, thinking we need someone to tell us we're enough. Plan. But what if your worth was never something to be given? What if it's something that's always been within you? Plan. Waiting to be remembered. The world may try to define your value by titles, roles, plan, or results. But your worth has nothing to do with achievement. It has everything to do with being. Being kind when you're tired. Plan. Being soft in a hard world. Being honest when it's easier to hide. That is impact. That is power. Plan. So even on the days you feel small, plan. Even when the weight you carry feels unnoticed, know that the very fact that you continue to breathe, to try, to love matters. Plan. Your life matters. Your story matters. Plan. You are not a background character in someone else's story. You are the author of your own. Plan. And though you may not see your reflection clearly through the fog of doubt, plan. Someone out there is watching you and silently whispering, if they can do it, maybe I can too. So tomorrow, plan. When the alarm rings and the sky still holds the silence of night, I hope you remember, you have a reason to rise. Plan. Not because the world is waiting, but because you are worthy of waking. Let your purpose be your compass, not your pressure. Plan. Let it guide you gently, not chase you urgently. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to begin. Even slowly. Plan. Even softly. Even scared. Because every step taken with purpose, no matter how small, plan, moves you closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be. And that is more than enough.